Start the recording now. So good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Bonnie Deisinger, and I would like to welcome you to this presentation on the esoteric aspects of energy healing. In the esoteric healing classes I teach, and a lot of our meetings that we have about esoteric healing, we always start with an angel card. So I wanted to draw an angel card this morning and read it. So I've got a deck here of angel cards that I've shuffled. And so we'll just see which angel presents itself today for this presentation. The angel of purification. And I read from these universal cards of angelic messages. The angel of purification. Definition: cleansing from guilt or negative inclinations, separating and removing from anything polluted, act of cleansing ceremonially. When you draw this card, know that it's time for great growth. While growth is not always easy, it is very beneficial in the long run. This card usually precedes an intense peeling away of layers. Shed old fears and pain and prepare to the next step. Intense energy, strength, and courage is available in this time of purification. Call upon them. Remove yourself from any negativity around you. Be centered in your own light and don't allow yourself to be influenced by others. Before an awakening comes purifying. Prepare yourself for a great time of great change. Release and transform things that have held you back. Rid yourself of unwanted situations or stale emotions in your life. Don't hold on to things past their time. Let go. You will find yourself in situations that allow you to achieve great inner healing. Walk through the challenges with strength and awareness and have the courage to change. So that is our message from the angel of purification today. So I would just like to take a moment and share with you just a little bit about myself and how I came into this journey of esoteric healing. When I turned 50, I said to myself, oh, I have wisdom now. I had learned a lot in my life with many challenging events. And through this self-declared wisdom, I knew that I needed to make changes in my life, but I didn't know what that change was, what it meant, what it was going to look like. And so I was searching. I was searching for who I am. Who is Bonnie Deisinger? This searching for myself has been a lifelong process for me. And when I think I've found myself, then I find there's a deeper part of me that I need to learn and connect with. So early in 2008, I had started learning about angels and meditation. And later that year, I was invited to an esoteric healing class to attend it, not having any idea what esoteric healing was. But I was open to taking it because I was searching. Dr. Barbara Briner, an osteopathic physician, was my esoteric healing teacher. When she talked about the centers and what they affect in us, I could see myself, I could relate to myself in their unbalanced descriptions that she was sharing and how this was affecting me. Later, then, when she was talking about the evolution of the soul, it was like she was writing the story of my life on the whiteboard in the classroom for everybody to see. All of the challenging experiences in my life had to do with my own soul's growth and influenced over me. I began to understand that life was and still is a journey of learning discernment through all the things that I had experienced in my life. And the searching I was experiencing actually had a name. It's called divine discontent. With each esoteric healing class I took, I began to understand and know myself a little bit more, as well as understand others and why people are the way they are. This divine discontent that we go through, we all go through it on our spiritual journey, whether we realize it or not. Our stories may be different, the circumstances around it are different, but eventually we all get to a point where we need to know more about ourselves. We need to know that there's something different for us, something that challenges us to grow. I also learned through my studies that instead of saying that we are humans having a spiritual experience, I came to learn and understand and know that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I've been an esoteric healing facilitator since 2008 and teaching esoteric healing classes since 2014. As a healing facilitator, I specialize in the philosophy and techniques of esoteric healing. I'm a certified practitioner and an accredited teacher of esoteric healing. I'm also a Reiki master practitioner and instructor. I'm a board certified holistic health practitioner and a certified hypnotherapist. And I have a few other energy healing modalities up my sleeve, but it's esoteric healing that resonates the most with me. I live here in Lansing, Michigan, and I have an active client practice serving clients with distance energy esoteric healing sessions throughout the United States and overseas. And I teach my esoteric healing classes online. I have been part of the esoteric healing community since 2008. I have served on the board of directors for the National Association for Esoteric Healing since 2010. I'm currently serving as their board president. I've helped to develop the certification process for esoteric healing, and I've been invited various times to present at our annual esoteric healing conferences. I've written articles for our esoteric healing journal, and I've been invited also to talk on different podcasts for esoteric healing. And I also work as part of a team training future esoteric healing teachers. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit of my story. So I'm going to share my screen now. We'll begin with our presentation. So during this presentation here, we are going to talk on the following topics: the esoteric aspects of energy healing, esoteric healing. We're going to talk about the physical, etheric, emotional, mental, and our spiritual bodies, the basic psychology of the chakras, healing that is according to the will of the soul. Esoteric healing supports our spiritual growth, how that happens, and how esoteric healing differs from other energy healing modalities, and some of the philosophy that supports esoteric healing, and a little bit about the esoteric healing classes at the end. So first, let's look at the meaning of the word esoteric. Esoteric means something that's hidden and it's meant to be found, meaning it is to be explored and understood. It's just not factual information. You study and you search for the information to be able to understand something at a deeper level. You gain a more profound awareness or understanding of something. And with truly spiritual subjects, there always is a more profound and deeper level of understanding of meanings to the words and the meanings of an experience that you might encounter. There's a knowingness that comes with this. Many times this awareness comes through meditation. So we must search within for the deeper hidden levels of our beingness to find the real cause of our issues, whether the issue is a physical issue, an emotional or mental issue, or even a spiritual issue. As the veil lifts and the light begins to reveal what was once hidden within, we're able to begin to see and understand ourselves and others in a different way. and thus the process of the return to wholeness begins. So esoteric healing, when we bring that word esoteric into our healing energy, we're saying it is the process of healing through the energy field by exercising sound judgment in the use of energy applied with love and science. So it's healing applied with love because we bring into the session love from the practitioner's heart, love from the practitioner's soul and the client's soul, and love from the divine love of the creative force. And it's a science because science acknowledges the existence of our energy field. It's a science in the understanding of our physical anatomy. And as an energy healing modality, esoteric healing is a science because it's teachable, it's reproducible, meaning I can teach you how to do esoteric healing, and then you can also do esoteric healing. And when you practice and follow the protocols that are taught in class, you can have similar results. So whether you believe in energy work or not, esoteric healing is a science and it works. I love this quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson. The good thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe in it. He is an American astrophysicist, a cosmologist, an author, and a science communicator. So we have 7 major chakras that are responsible for our well-being. And there are 5 that are aligned on the spine, and then we have 2 on the head. So the basic chakra is here at the base of the spine. The sacral chakra is below the navel. And then the solar plexus chakra is above the navel, but below the diaphragm. And then we have the heart center, which is above the diaphragm and in the center of the chest at the level of the heart. And we have the throat chakra at the center of our throat. We have the ajna, which is between our brows here. And then we have the crown, which is at the top of our head. And these chakras are part of our energetic spiritual anatomy. Then we have nerve plexes, and these nerve plexes are directly related to each chakra. And these nerve plexes are actually a part of our physical anatomy. So you can see here these bundles of nerves here that are coming off the spine there. There's several of them, but they associate with different centers. Here, this one resonates with the heart center. This one down here, the basic center. So each center has this nerve plexi that it works with. And you can find these in a Gray's Anatomy book. So medical people in the medical field know about these nerve plexes. And then we have what's called nadis. And these are part of our energetic spiritual anatomy. Nadis is a Hindi word, and it means small strings or tubules. It comes from the root of the word nad, N-A-D, which means motion, flow, or vibration. Nadis are channels or energy pathways that carry prana or life force energy throughout the body, and they connect at the chakras. They help to distribute energy through the energy field. Where 21 of these nadis cross, they make up our 7 chakras. There are also mid-size intersections of 14 nadis, which make up some smaller energy minors. And then there's hundreds of points on the body that there's 7 of these nadis that intersect, making these tiny chakras. So here in this picture, you can see here's a major chakra that looks like the solar plexus and the sacral, heart, throat. And then some of the smaller chakras where 20 or 14 cross is here, like at the shoulders, Here's one at the elbow and the hand. Here's one at the knee and the foot. So there's these smaller ones, but then the tiny ones where 7 cross are all over in the energy field. So these help to, these overlay our physical nerves as well as the subtle circuitry that supports our spiritual presence. It's the nadis that determine the nature and the quality of our nervous system. With its extensive network of nerves and plexi covering the entire physical body. It is the life energy or prana that's transmitted to and absorbed by the physical body that manifests as vitality. So let's take a look how energy flows into the body. So we have energy around us all the time. It's always there. It's around us. It's flowing through us. So it comes in, energy comes in to the center here, to the center. And from the center, that energy flows to the nadis. And then you see this interface here. This interface is where the interface where spirit meets matter. So the nadis here are the lowest vibration of the spiritual body, and our nervous system is the highest vibration of our physical body. So where spirit meets matter at this interface. So the energy is coming in from the nadis into our nervous system. From the nervous system, it goes into the endocrine gland, and the endocrine gland carries that energy then and the hormones to the blood that circulates through our body and then to the target organ within the body, whether the target organ is the liver, the ovaries, the thyroid, whatever organ it is, whatever that blood flow in our muscles, this is where that energy goes. So the energy flows down all through this system. It's the flow of energy into the body that helps to maintain our health. If the flow is deficient, restricted, or blocked, or even excessive, then physical dis-ease or illness sets in. This can be a physical illness, an emotional or mental condition, or even a karmic issue. So when our energy flows, then our body knows how to heal itself. So this energy flow of our chakras creates the energy field that surrounds and permeates our physical body. And this energy field, it extends out beyond our physical form. And this is called our aura. So if we look at this picture representing our energy field, we have here the physical body, and then the pink here is going to represent our etheric body. The green is representing our emotional body. The yellow is representing our mental body here, and then the purple going around is representing our spiritual body. So the etheric body is the one closest to our physical body. As the energy field extends out away from the body, it becomes more subtle. So it's not like there's these lines that we see in these pictures that differentiate the names. It's the names of the field. These fields are always interfacing with each other, and they're different rates of vibration. So as the energy extends out, it is more subtle. So the etheric's going to feel more dense. The emotional's not quite as dense. The mental will be more subtle, and then the spiritual is even more subtle. But they all flow and permeate our physical body. So this is the etheric body here. We'll just say it's the etheric body, and it's closest to our physical body. And this is the blueprint of our physical body. All the structures of the physical body that are present at birth are in our energy field. as an example here. So we can see here in this example, these black lines represent the structures, 2 arms and 2 legs here. And then in this image here, we can see part of that structure has been removed, but the etheric energy is still there because the person was born with 2 full arms and some injury or something happened and they had part of their arm removed. And this is true if it's a limb that's removed or your gallbladder or maybe a kidney, or even if you have your tonsils removed. If you were born with it, it's still in the energy field. Every once in a while, you might hear someone, they're born with, say, 1 kidney. And so you will only find 1 kidney in the energy field because they weren't born with 2 kidneys. So this esoteric healing can be particularly helpful in balancing phantom pain that people have when they may have a limb removed. So the next level is our emotional body. Our emotions and our thoughts condition also our energy field, and how we think and feel can help produce health or illness. If we have emotional stresses such as anger or depression, sadness, low self-esteem, maybe in fear all the time, these affect our emotional body and end up eventually affecting our physical body. 80% of humanity's illnesses are from these emotional stressors. We need emotions because they add color to our life, excitement and joy. But we want to be able to control our emotions versus our emotions controlling us. So we want to be able to respond to things versus react. And then we have our mental body. We have the mental aspect of the vibration of our thoughts and our belief systems, and we can get stuck in our thoughts. We're not able to think of another way of being or another way of doing something. We can't think outside of the box. So some examples of lower vibrational thoughts and beliefs could be, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't do that. We may have limited beliefs about things also that result in illness. But we can have higher vibration thoughts and beliefs, such as I am good enough, I have courage, I'm happy. And these are positive and beliefs that affect our emotions and our physical etheric body with more positive energy. And then we have the spiritual aspects of our higher self that can affect us. Things that we've brought into this life to heal, karmic things that we're healing. So what is in our spiritual body here affects and influence our mental body. Our mental body influences our emotional body. Our emotional body influences our etheric body. And then our etheric body influences our physical body. So disease comes from the outside in. It doesn't happen in just show up and happen in our physical body. It's coming in from these outside energies. So once you experience any physical aches or pains, illness or disease, it's moved through those mental and emotional and etheric bodies and is now manifesting into the spiritual body, or I'm sorry, into the physical body. So if the energy can be balanced before it ends up in the physical body, people won't get so sick, or they won't have as many health issues. And all of these levels are accessible to us in esoteric healing. In addition to these levels, we have the personality body here. The personality body is how the physical etheric, the emotional, and the mental body work together synergistically. Each level on its own may have a sense of balance with it, but how are they working together? How are they playing together for the well-being of the person? So it's important to know how to balance this personality body, because on a deeper esoteric level, being able to balance the personality body is very important to our spiritual growth. For when the personality is blended, fused, and coordinated, it provides a vehicle for the soul to work through. So this is a personality energy body that we're talking about. So here we see we have soul light flowing all around us, and it's coming in through the levels into the body. So here, this black area here is representing blocked energy. There's no soul light able to get through into the throat center. None at all. So this person now is dealing with some sort of issue that the throat center governs. You know, maybe they've had to have their thyroid removed, or maybe they're having lymphatic issues, a lung issue, neck issue, whatever it is in the throat center, what it governs, there's no soul energy. So this person is having difficulties here. Oh my goodness, sorry about that. So here at the level of the solar plexus, being right here, we see there's start of diminished energy here. There's still some soul light that can get through, but not, it's being inhibited a little bit. So maybe this person now is just having some twinges of aches and pains that they're starting to notice. Maybe they're noticing they don't have so much control over their emotions, or maybe their blood sugar levels are starting to rise, or they're not able to tolerate the spicy foods that they used to be, or they could be having occasional issues with constipation or diarrhea. So these are examples, are indications, excuse me, that there's some level of disruption within the flow of the energy body. And if the energy flow's not brought back into harmony and balance, then the person may develop more concerning physical issues anywhere in their digestive system. But the good thing here is that it hasn't yet manifested into the physical yet, and the energy can begin to be balanced. And if the person takes the right steps in making changes in their life, it can be reversed. So the soul is in charge of the healing. And if our personality begins to open to the soul influence, then we can take the steps to make positive changes in our life. And then the body begins to heal itself. What esoteric healing does is supports the flow of energy within the energy body so that you can make the changes you want to return yourself to wholeness and well-being on all levels, being the physical level, the emotional and mental level, and the soul level, the spiritual level. Every illness, every injury has an aspect of soul influence to it, and they're all designed to help us evolve and to look up and connect with our soul for guidance. The chakra is an inner part of a center, and it is the center where we begin applying our balancing for esoteric healing. So we hear a lot of people talk about chakras and that, but not so much about the centers. But in esoteric healing, we're using the center. So a chakra is an individual aspect in the energy field, whereas the center is inclusive of the chakra, but also of the area of influence for the anatomy that's associated with it. Each center has important contributions to our physiological system, to its association with an endocrine gland, and as well as an important psychological contribution. So if we look at this chart here, say here's the solar plexus under the center, solar plexus center. And the physiological system is the digestive system. The endocrine gland is the pancreas. And the psychological contribution is about our emotions and issues of power and control. The throat center, the physiological system is the respiratory system. The endocrine gland is the thyroid, and its psychological contribution is mental creativity. If we look at the basic center down here, the urinary system is its physiological system. The adrenal glands are the endocrine glands, and its psychological contribution is courage and the will to be. So as we go over these centers a little bit, here starting with the basic center. The basic center is at the base of the spine. And again, the adrenal glands here are the endocrine glands, and it governs the entire urinary system. So the kidneys, the ureters, the bladder, urethra, but it also covers the spine. Its psychological aspect is about the will to be and courage, because it takes courage to approach life every day in a positive way. If the energy flow is diminished, then fear or depression, sadness, hopelessness, even addictions can show up. But if it's balanced, the courage for the will to be is showing up here. They feel stronger. A person will feel stronger with a strong basic center, and they're able to approach each day with more positivity, even though the challenges they're experiencing haven't changed. So with these centers and the flow of energy through them, we have observable behaviors that we can recognize where an issue might be. So some observable behaviors for the basic center: if there's a diminished flow of energy, the person may be anxious, they could be sad or depressed, maybe they struggle with addictions, they're fearful, they can't sit down, they always have to keep moving, hoarding or lack of self-discipline, and they can be self-destructive. But when someone has balanced basic center, then they can relax and be still, they feel safe, they're stable in life, they have clarity on their purpose and direction, and they're neat. I had a gentleman I saw a few years ago. He came to me every other week for about 4 months. He was 89 years old, and he shared that he had been struggling with depression his whole life. His wife had passed away a few years earlier, and he was just so sad all the time, and he was not wanting to get out of the house. He didn't have any friends, but he had come for some energy work. And as I continued balancing his energy with esoteric healing, his basic center started getting stronger and stronger. And you could tell he was starting to have more joy. In his face, it was even showing. He would smile a little bit as he came. And he started sharing how he was going out a little bit more, and he was starting to make friends, and it really improved his life and well-being. So then we have the sacral center. So the sacral center here, we said, is below the navel. The endocrine gland are the ovaries, the female ovaries, or the male testes here. This system governs the whole reproduction system. And then it also is responsible for our hips, knees, and our feet, for grounding us. So this center has to do with relationships, all kinds of relationships. relationships with others, our family, our friends, our coworkers, even strangers. But it also has to do with our relationship for ourselves. Do we feel worthy? Sexual relationships are just a very small part of the totality of this center. But how about our relationship with money? Do you know somebody who just spends their money all the time? They're not responsible with it. Or on the other end, somebody that holds on tight to every single penny. And then there's a relationship with time. How about somebody who's late all the time? They get sidetracked or they forget appointments. No regard for the other person. Or someone who's not able to make a decision. They have all these possibilities and they can't narrow it down and they can't decide on one. They're having issues with being grounded. The center governs our physical creativity. I mean, we create babies through our sacral center, the organs and the systems of the sacral center. The physical creativity can also have to do with dancing and gymnastics. And think of the coordination it requires to do those things. A person who has chronic low back pain will most likely be having some sort of a relationship issue. So some observable behaviors of a diminished energy flow in the sacral center could be someone who's clingy or there's codependence. They depend too much on others. They have a fear of commitment. They're insecure and jealous. Maybe they have poor boundaries or poor social skills. They can be possessive. Their body is actually very rigid in their movements, and they can be unreliable. But if the energy is balanced, a few examples can be they have creative body movements. They're flexible and graceful. They have healthy boundaries. They nurture themselves, but also can nurture others. And they have respect for others, and they have self-respect. So here I worked with a 14-year-old girl. Her mom brought her to me to work with because her friends were not being very nice to her at school. So I worked with her over the summer, only 3 or 4 times. And as I was balancing her energy, the sacral center was actually blocked. There wasn't any flow of energy through it. And so we worked on her the first session. And a week after that first session, the mom called me to share that she had got her monthly cycle back again. It had stopped for a while. So that has to do with the reproductive system. And so that freed it up. And with each session, it continued to improve. And when she went back to school in the fall, she found a whole new group of friends that she really got along well with. They treated her nice. And her mom said even the teachers were commenting how much better she was doing in school and how much happier she seemed to be. So next we have the solar plexus center. Now this is the center that is above the navel, but below the diaphragm. So we have the solar plexus center here. The pancreas here is the endocrine gland, and the solar plexus governs our entire gastrointestinal system for it. It also governs the spleen organ. The spleen's not part of our digestive system, but it does have to do with energy coming into the body, which we would talk more about in class. But the solar plexus is what's called the home of our emotional body. This is where our emotional body is where we experience issues that teach us about power and control. And this center is all about the I, the me, and the mind. So everything's about me. Everything's about my needs, about my wants, what we're going to do, what I want to do. And this is where much of humanity resides here in the solar plexus center, where people are charged and where they react from. Think about the commercials that you see on TV or hear about digestive issues. and the aids like Tums and Pepto-Bismol, milk of magnesium. And we hear commercials about irritable bowel syndrome and constipation and diarrhea, Crohn's disease, and even diabetes. These all have to do with an imbalance in the solar plexus center. Some of the behaviors we may observe that indicate a diminished energy in the solar plexus, the person can be aggressive or a bully. So we said about power and control, or it can be at the very opposite end where the person is very timid and not standing up for themselves. They can be greedy. They have lack of spontaneity or vitality. They have low self-esteem. They feel they need to rescue others, any type of digestive issue, and they can be emotionally reactive. But behaviors that indicate a more balanced energy in the solar plexus here is a person that they have confidence, they have good self-esteem, they have a sense of their own personal power, they have a warm personality, they're playful, and they have the ability to laugh at themselves. So I worked with a client who was a type 1 diabetic, and he had, so he was on insulin, but he was having trouble regulating his blood sugar levels. They'd be either really high or really low, and it was just real difficult. But so balancing his solar plexus center and the pancreas and his energy body, he was able to have more stabilization in his blood sugar levels. So we helped with that. So these three centers below the diaphragm, the basic center, the sacral center, and the solar plexus, and this is representing below the diaphragm here. These centers are considered the centers that support our personality, and their balance is crucial as we move forward on our spiritual path. When they're balanced, we're able to stand strong and balanced as the winds of emotional turmoil swirl around us. It's not that things don't happen to us that upset us and that we need to deal with, and we may stumble, but we don't fall, and we find our balance much more quickly. Challenging things don't affect us the way that they used to. There can be a tendency for a person who's so excited to begin their spiritual journey that they just want to focus on the heart center or the crown center, these higher spiritual centers. But without the strength and flowing balance of these three centers below the diaphragm, we're not able to fully develop these centers above the diaphragm. So you'll develop them at some level, but not as good as they could be because of the lower centers not being developed. And if we stumble, we will fall. So we all know the importance of a strong foundation. So then the heart center here in the center of the chest is the first center that is above the diaphragm. And here we have the thymus, which is the endocrine gland. It also covers the heart organ and our circulation system. The thymus gland is real important to our immune system, and so the heart center helps to support our immune system as well. So here we've moved from the I, the me, and the mind of the solar plexus to the compassion and thinking of others of the heart center. And this is dealing with the energy that makes us humanity. This is where we are as humanity as we're moving towards. It's about unconditional love for others. It's our center for philanthropy, compassion, and nurturing, and giving something with no expectation of return. Whereas when we're living through the solar plexus, it's about, I'll do this for you. Now, what are you going to do for me? So some observable behaviors of a heart center with diminished energy A person can be antisocial. There's bitterness. They're always blaming others. They can be very critical. They have a fear of commitment, a fear of intimacy, or a fear of a relationship. They have prolonged grief. They're not able to work through it. They're intolerant of themselves and of others. They're over-sacrificing, and they may be dealing with some shame. Some balanced characteristics are acceptance of others, acceptance of who they are. And we have compassion and devotion, humility. We can be loving and peaceful. Someone who accepts responsibility. They're tolerant and they're trustworthy. So I worked with a woman, she was 72, and when she'd come to see me, it was for a totally different reason than the outcome of the sessions, but her husband had passed away 5 years earlier, and she still cried every day, missing him. How could she go on with life without him? And this was affecting her life. She had stopped going to church. She'd pulled away from her friends. She wouldn't go out and do anything. Even the relationship with her children was becoming very strained because all she did was cry and she wouldn't do anything for herself. So I worked with her for probably 3 or 4 months, and she came probably about every 3 weeks. And this was in her heart center is where we found the issues. And the issue that she came to me for happened to do with she needed to have a procedure to check on something in her heart. But as we balanced her energy and worked with the heart center, she began to open up. And each time she came, she would start talking about different things that she was starting to do again. And she would start to have some smiles on her face, and she could talk with me about her husband and not cry, and was thinking about happy memories then at the time they shared versus how much she missed him and what everything he used to do. She started going back to church. She started reconnecting with her friends. Her relationship with her children was healing. And the last time that I'd seen her, she had said that she had met a gentleman who had asked her to lunch, and she accepted it. So where that went, I don't know, but she was regaining her life. So next is the throat center, and this is at the level of the throat here. See, I'm having a little throat center issue today talking. So the throat center governs our thyroid. Our thyroid is the endocrine gland. It governs the lymphatic system, the respiratory part of the lungs, and also the shoulder, elbows, and hands. Shoulder, elbow, and hands here. This now, the throat center is the home of our mental body, our thoughts, and our beliefs. The psychological contribution is mental creativity. So this is our center of communication, of both speaking and listening. When it's balanced, we're able to speak what it is we're thinking and feeling. When we're able to listen to others, what they're saying, so we can listen to them versus just hearing what they're saying. So the mental creativity is about writing, physical writing, artist, whether they're doing pottery or painting or making jewelry, whatever type of artist they are, singing, and inventions. So some observable behaviors here with diminished energy is someone who avoids change. There's confusion. Maybe they dominate conversations, or they talk too much, or they're constantly interrupting. They have excessive criticism. They always have an excuse. They gossip, or they're a know-it-all. They can have a very loud voice or a very soft, shrill voice. They mumble, or maybe they have constant yelling. But a throat center that expresses with balance energy is someone who they have the ability to accept change. They communicate clearly and honestly. They're creative. They're able to listen well. They're logical and they have positive self-talk. They have the ability to practice silence. They're comfortable just sitting in that silence, and they're truthful. So it involves our belief system. So a client here came, and she came into the office and her balance was not very good. It was like she was bouncing off the each side of the wall of the hall, and she had very much difficulty talking and expressing her words. It was like her tongue was real thick. I actually was concerned she was going to fall in my office. And you could tell right away she needed to see a physician. And I asked her about that, and nope, didn't like physicians. She didn't trust them. She wasn't going to see one. So very restricted belief system. That's what her belief, and she wasn't going to go outside of that. So when I worked on her, balancing her energy, her throat center was blocked. That there was no energy working through the throat center. And I was not able to get any of that energy moving. And at the end of the session, I again recommended that she see a physician. No, she scheduled an appointment for 2 weeks later. She came back. Physically, she wasn't any better. When I balanced her energy, now the energy of the throat center was restricted. So there was a little bit of energy flowing through it. And so, we did our balance, what we do in the session. And again, recommended she see a physician. Nope, wasn't going to do that. The third session she came, the throat center energy was now diminished. So there was still wasn't open and balanced, but there was some energy flowing through it. And she had shared that she had made an appointment with a physician to see about her condition. And so the healing in this case, even though it didn't make any difference with what she was going through physically, it helped to open up the energy of her belief system, of her mental thoughts, so they weren't as restricted, that she allowed herself to see a physician. I saw her about a year later at an energy healing gathering, just a bunch of healers there, and she was much improved. She shared that she had been diagnosed with Huntington's disease, and so she needed to be on medication. She still was a little bit off balance, but much better than when she had seen me that year previous. And she was able to communicate better, where people had an easier time understanding her. So it's not always about the physical healing. It can be about the emotional healing, the healing of our emotions, healing of our mind and our belief system. So moving up to the spiritual centers on the head, the first one is the ajna at the point between the eyebrows. So the ajna here. The pituitary gland over here is the endocrine gland, and the ajna governs the frontal lobes, our sinuses, and our eyes. And the psychological portion of the ajna is about spiritual creativity, intuitive perception, and wisdom beyond knowing. So our ajna is not our third eye. Everybody has an ajna. All of humanity, each person has an ajna, but not everyone has a third eye. The third eye has to be developed, and this is developed when we bring the energy of the ajna center and the crown center together, so that pineal gland and the pituitary gland. So it's something we develop as we grow spiritually. So some observable behaviors, characteristics of the ajna with diminished energy is there can be confusion, someone who delusional, their denial of what's going on. It's like they have blinders on and they're not going to look what's going on around them. They can be insensitive to others, judgmental, self-sacrificing, and short-sighted. But a balanced ajna characteristics can be clarity, detachment, and discernment. They're imaginative and insightful. They're intuitive. They're able to see the bigger picture. They have self-responsibility and they have wisdom. I had a client, she lived in Texas, and she contacted me and she says she thinks she's lost her soul and she didn't want to be here anymore. It was a real sad situation. She wouldn't leave the house. You could just feel her turning inside to herself. And so I worked with her for 5 different sessions, a month apart. And slowly her ajna started opening and her energy, and she started feeling better. And she started sharing that she was seeing what was going on in her life, that her partner was being dominant over her and controlling and manipulating her. And she was starting to see that. And she was able to start going out of the house again, and she would start driving. She had to go to a doctor appointment that she had to cross the border into Arizona. And so that was a big step for her, and she was real proud of herself. So we were able to assist with that. And then last we have the crown center. So the crown here at the top of our head. And the endocrine gland of the crown center is the pineal gland. And the crown center governs our central nervous system. So our brain, our spinal cord there. And the psychological aspect is conscious awareness of unity with the divine. We recognize that we are one with all, the oneness in all of us. So some characteristics of diminished energy includes someone who's anxious. They can be depressed, have despair. They dominate others. They're irresponsible. They can be materialistic. They're sarcastic. And even to the point that one has spiritual addiction. You know, that's all they're doing is their spiritual work. They don't have a balance in their life. I mean, we're still here to live on earth and learn. So some indications of a balanced crown center, someone who's able to perceive, analyze, and assimilate information. They have the ability to think for themselves. There's clarity. They're inspired with knowingness and knowledge. They meditate. They recognize this oneness with all. They're open-minded and they're thoughtful, and they have wisdom and mastery. So those are our centers that we talk about. So just like there's different schools of fish in the ocean, it's all the same ocean though. Esoteric healing works with the same energy as other energy healing modalities. It's just that our application is different. You know, we need all these different types of energy healing modalities because people at different levels resonate with the different levels of energy that these other modalities offer. So let's talk a bit about how esoteric healing differs from other energy healing modalities. So first, we have our alignment and attunement process. And here is where our heart and our soul, we link our heart and soul up to source energy. And then we link our soul to our client's soul because our energies mix during the sessions. And this helps to get the personality out of the way and allows for the higher light of the soul to come through as a basis for motivation and balance. So we bring into the healing session, our heart center, our center of love and compassion, and for being of intentful service. And then we link our soul light to our client soul light, so we're not forcing the energy onto or into the client. And then we direct the light from the client soul up to source energy. And this attunement brings the healer, the client, and source energy into a harmonious and responsive relationship. We have our soul light for higher direction and intuitive guidance. So our soul light is 8 to 10 inches above our head. It's a focus point of light that fills our whole aura and flows through our body. And we have divine source energy. After we have aligned and attuned, we then bring the energy of our heart and soul into our ajna here. And then we direct the energy from our ajna into our hands. So we're bringing the energy from our heart for love and compassion into the healing session, as well as the energy of our soul for higher direction and intuitive guidance, and the source energy into the healing session. And now we become the healing facilitator, not the healer, because it's the client's soul that is the true healer of their form. A very positive side effect for the healer as a result of this alignment and attunement process is that it builds and strengthens the Antakarana, or you may know it as the rainbow bridge. And this allows us to access our higher self, allowing for progressive spiritual growth. This alignment and attunement process is key. It's a key difference that makes esoteric healing stand out from other energy healing modalities. I've worked with healers who practice other modalities of energy work, and they share that when they bring this alignment and attunement process into their energy sessions, it brings a whole different level of energy to their particular modality. Number 2 is that esoteric healing is done according to the will of the client's soul. And what does this mean? It means that we acknowledge the soul as the true healer of the form. So not only do we need the verbal permission of our client when we're doing energy healing, we also need to obtain permission from the client's soul. So we consciously bring in the power of the soul into the healing session. This power of the soul then pours through the person's consciousness, their personality life, and the physical vehicle, and begins to cleanse and purify all aspects of the lower nature. And occasionally, an esoteric healing practitioner may get a no answer from the soul not to proceed with the session. And we talk about what to do with that in class. Third is that we use the ajna as the motivator for change, because the ajna is the distributor of light and healing energy. The ajna is a point of spiritual focus, and change occurs when we bring the focus of the ajna into the healing session. With esoteric healing, we do not send energy with our hands, through our hands. We only use our hands to sense the energy. We send the energy out through our ajna, which is at a higher vibration, a higher frequency, and more powerful. We never touch the physical body. Esoteric healing is totally hands-off energy healing. We only work in the energy field. The client's soul will know how to proceed with its own healing once the energy flow from the soul is freed up to flow unobstructively through the mental, the emotional, the etheric, and the physical bodies. It's divine truth that when our energy flows, that our own body knows how to heal itself. Esoteric healing is considered spiritual healing because we used focused spiritual energy to bring about healing based on spiritual principles, not religious principles. The fourth way esoteric healing differs from other energy healing modalities is how we work with the sacred geometry of a triangle to facilitate a change in the flow of a client's energy. By using our ajna in both of our hands, we connect the energy of a center, a body organ, body part or system with a specific point of light in the energy field to create a triangle of healing energy. Then we're able to hold the energy of the triangle and ask for balance and allow this energy of source and the client's soul to facilitate a change, a transformation in the flow of energy. The Mathematics Institute at the University of Oxford says that the most stable shape is the triangle. So why is that? Because a triangle does not easily deform and is able to balance the stretching and the compressive forces inside of its structure. Alice Bailey, who talks about esoteric healing in, we call them the Bailey books, she says the scientific significance of the energy within a triangle in her book, Esoteric Astrology. She says it's through a triangle that all force and all energy moves. Higher light, higher force, and higher energy all flow through the form of a triangle. There are three components of a triangle. There's the quality of the energy. The flow, is it flowing? What's the vibration of it? Is it buoyant or does it feel stiff and hard? Then there's the quantity of the energy flowing through the triangle. How much? Is there just a little bit, none at all, or too much? Or is it just right? And then there's the substance. Is it dense or is it subtle? She says when a triangle stands as a whole and the 3 points are working together at the same time, it's balanced. And then the triangle functions dimensionally versus linearly. Now we are dimensional beings. So we want these points of light, these triangles of light within our energy body to flow and be balanced. So this use of triangles in esoteric healing allows for a very powerful form of healing. Change occurs and spiritual development occurs. Triangles work consciously and constructively with the power of thought. And it's science that tells us energy follows thought. Number 5 in the difference is the use of ray energy. So this ray energy is universal energy. There are energy waves that each carries a different frequency, and we all have access to this energy. There are 7 different rays, and each resonates with a particular center. A practitioner trained in esoteric healing is able to work with a particular ray of influence for that center, which adds potency to the client's healing session. And then we have the crown center, which is also oftentimes referred to as the 1,000-petaled lotus. And these petals are energetic representations of the multiple levels of consciousness that exist within the crown center. So imagine you're looking at the top of a person's head. The crown center, the 1,000-petaled lotus, sits above the head. After first learning and practicing some basic esoteric healing skills, an esoteric healing practitioner is then later taught how to access and balance the energy of the body within the multiple dimensions of the crown center. Within this 1,000-petaled lotus is the blueprint of the physical body. Everything regarding the physical body is represented by the energetic components within the crown center. Each center has an energetic component on the crown center. So these colors represent the throat center. Here's the solar plexus, the basic center, sacral center, and the heart center here. as well as every part of the body, whether it's the heart organ or the circulation system, the thyroid, the liver, the kidneys, the adrenals, whatever it is, even the spine is part of this, these petals, 1,000-petaled lotus. So everything that's within the physical body has a corresponding energetic component within the crown center. Balancing the energy of the body within the multiple levels of consciousness of the crown center allows the esoteric healing practitioner to use very fine and very precise and potent energy in balancing a client's energy. And then we have distance healing. Energy is fluid in motion. We live in a veritable sea of moving energy forces around us. And energy follows thought, and thought directs the energy in motion. This is a law of physics. So the distance esoteric healing sessions is enhanced because of our alignment and attunement process. We use the ajna to direct the subtle energy, and esoteric healing practitioners learn and understand the significance of their intention and purpose of that directed subtle energy through the ajna. And our distance energy healing is also enhanced due to our work with triangles. Recall that we said triangle works consciously and constructively with the power of thought. And the work of the triangle is that of directing the thought. So there's advantages also of participating in a distance esoteric healing session. Clients are able to stay in their own home. They don't have to deal with the heavy traffic driving to or from their appointment. If your client travels for work or pleasure anywhere around the world, they can still receive a distance esoteric healing session. I've worked with clients all over the United States, as well as France and London, Lebanon and Switzerland, Uruguay, India, Belgium, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. It's all the same. It's like they're right there with me. Children may even enjoy an esoteric healing session while they sit at home with their parent, reading them a book or playing a quiet game with them. And I also want to mention, we talked about the personality energy body, that also is something with esoteric healing that we focus on in balancing, that makes the energy we work with different. So an invitation to class. If you are interested in learning more about yourself and understanding yourself at a deeper hidden level, learning and understanding more about others, learning how to help yourself, your family, your friends, and your clients navigate the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual parts of ourselves by balancing their energy body, I'd like to invite you to join me in my upcoming online Esoteric Healing Part 1 class that begins on August 26th. So this is an online class, so you can be anywhere in the world to take this class. By attending the classes online, you don't have the added expense of airfare. There's no reason to rent a car. You don't have the added expense of sleeping in a strange hotel room at night. And you don't have the extra cost of eating out all the time. You get to be in the comfort of your own home while attending the 3-day practical application portion of the class. So the class is broken up into a philosophy and a practical application class. The philosophy portion of the classes is a series of videos and quizzes and assignments that you complete at your own pace within a stated time frame, online through the online classroom. This portion of the class is a prerequisite in taking the practical application class, and it requires about 7 to 8 hours of your time over about a 2.5 to 3 week period of time. Then we meet together on Zoom for the practical portion of the class. This is where you actually learn how to do esoteric healing, how to give an esoteric healing session. And while you're in class, you're not only learning to give esoteric healing sessions to others, you are also receiving esoteric healing from your classmates. In the online portion of the class, throughout the first 4 levels of the esoteric healing classes, you have the opportunity to learn much about yourself and your soul from the philosophical topics that we teach. Here's a few of the things that we cover in the class. So first, we talk about the constitution of the human being here. This is on a chart, who we are. And notice that there's 7 levels here. And these are all different levels of consciousness here. And within each level of consciousness, there are 7 sub-levels, subplanes we'll call them. So there's 7 planes of consciousness, and then 7 within each plane. So there's 49 planes of consciousness in our being. And these down here in the purple, these 3 lower represent our physical body, our bones, our skin, our organs, our blood, the respiratory system, the oxygen that's in us, the carbon dioxide, the methane. These are all in here. So this is what our physical body represents in the totality of who we actually are. So we are so much more than these physical bodies. And we learn a lot more about that in class. We talk about the science of breath. This is a very esoteric subject. We touch on Kundalini energy, and you'll learn about the rays, how to apply the rays in your esoteric healing sessions, and how the rays affect who we are as a human being and as spiritual beings. And it helps to explain why and how we're all different. You will learn the alignment and attunement process here. The alignment attunement process, not only how it connects your soul to the soul of your client, but also how it contributes to your own spiritual growth and how it can help you in daily life, in your work and communication with others. You'll learn how to ask for healing to be according to the will of the soul, and how in your own unique way to listen to that for an answer. And you'll learn about the different energy bodies we have here and how they affect our daily life. So these, again, are our physical etheric, our emotional, our mental, and our spiritual bodies. You'll learn some simple, basic anatomy, and you'll learn about your spiritual anatomy. Whoops, sorry. You'll learn about your spiritual anatomy. And it's a beginning of understanding where science meets spirituality. Remember, it's simple, need to know. You learned some basic information about meditation and why, as a healer, meditation is important. And you'll also learn about glamour, the emotional energy of glamour, and the mental energy of illusion, and why it's important for those of us on the spiritual path to be aware of these energies. There's lots of information throughout the classes on the evolution of the soul, the process that we all go through to grow spiritually. This was where I shared, it was like Dr. Briner was writing my story, my life story on the whiteboard for everybody to see. It is a process of growth that we all grow through. regardless of what our circumstances are or how we may be experiencing it, because we all experience it different, but we do experience it. It also helps us to understand that the challenges that we go through in our life are really opportunities for our own soul's growth versus just something unfortunate or bad that's happened to us. You go from learning about being a spiritual being to understanding to really knowing yourself as a spiritual being. And there's so much more. Then in the online Zoom practical application portion of the class, this is where we come together for 3 days for the online classroom experience. And this is where you actually learn to do esoteric healing and do distance esoteric healing at that, because we're online. You'll learn how to use your ajna to direct and balance the subtle energy bodies, how to connect to the points of a triangle with the organs or systems within the physical body and the center, and then balance the triangle to facilitate a difference in the flow of energy. And there's many, many different triangles that we learn to connect with throughout the class, so you won't get bored. We learn how to focus on and sense the different energy levels in the energy field for an organ or a system while facilitating a balance within a triangle. And the pattern is the same regardless if it's the liver, the heart organ, the stomach, the thyroid, your eyes or ears, a bone, or even a muscle, even down to the tiniest cell of your body. So this is an example of a liver. So here we have the dense liver of the physical body. Then we have the blueprint of our liver of the etheric body. It's less dense than the liver of the physical body, but it's still just as real as the liver in the physical body. Then we have the energetic liver of our emotional body, which is even less dense than the liver in the etheric body. This emotional level of the liver influences the etheric level. And it's still too is just as real as the physical one. Then we have the energetic liver of the mental body, which is even less dense than the liver of the emotional body. And then we have the spiritual energetic liver. Even this is the most subtle, the least dense. So metaphysically, the liver holds anger, rage, jealousy, hate. And maybe on a mental level, the energy is blocked or restricted because your belief system is that you have to be angry at somebody because this person did something and it would be wrong for you not to continue to be angry. So balancing the liver at the mental level then helps to begin to soften that belief system so the person can develop a new belief system and begin to let go of that anger on the mental level, and then the healing can begin at the emotional level. So we're healing ourselves with this. And then in the level part 3 class, you learn how to connect the triangles within the crown center on the head as a way to balance the physical body. You tap into the blueprint that we talked about earlier, and you'll learn how to connect and balance at this higher vibration using more potent level of energy. So by the end of the first class, you'll have the beginnings of the basic understanding for providing an esoteric healing session for others, on yourself, and even on animals. In the practical application class, you'll have lots of time to practice in balancing the energy of your fellow classmates, as well as receiving lots of energy healing from your classmates. So I just want to give you an example here of the calendar for this upcoming class. I have a part 1 that starts on August 26th. So August 26th is when class begins. And here we do meet for 2 hours on Zoom, just to introduce each other, ourselves to each other, and I go over what the classroom looks like and just make sure you're getting started on a good foot. And then from here until we get down to here, this is when you're working on the philosophical portions, and you'll be doing the online videos and the quizzes. The quizzes are easy, and the assignments. We do have a time here that we gather for an hour and a half. Doesn't usually take that long, but just do you have any questions about the class up to this time? But we do go over the different functions of Zoom that we'll be using in the classroom, just so we're not spending class time on that. Has the dates when the final quiz is due, and all lessons must be completed by the particular date here. And then we meet in the classroom on September 15th, 16th, and 17th. This is on Zoom, so it's online. And these are full days that we're working together. So that's what the calendar looks like. If you're interested and you can't make this August class, I do have another part 1 class that starts in November, starts November 4th, and the practical application is December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And that information is all on my website. So we know that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. This is by Albert Einstein. You are constant, continuous, infinite energy, and energy never ends. It transforms. So when we balance our energy transforms and we transform. How do we make changes in our life? We transform our energy. We balance our energy. We raise our vibration. When our energy flow is balanced, we're able to step into our own power and to make changes in our lives that we need to change. When our vibration is raised, our consciousness expands. So I thank you for attending this presentation with me today on the esoteric aspects of energy healing. I do hope you learned something about yourself, and this information will cause you to stop and ponder about your life as an energetic spiritual being, and consider taking esoteric healing classes where you learn a deeper hidden aspects of yourself and of others, and also to help yourself and others by balancing the energy bodies. Maybe you're just interested in learning even more about yourself, or understanding and helping family and friends with balancing their energy. Or maybe you already have an energetic healing practice and you've been getting the nudge that there's something more to learn, to deepen your knowledge and to amp up your healing practice. Or maybe you just want to consider having an esoteric healing session. You can find my esoteric healing class schedule on my website, which is at bonniedeisinger.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at bonnie@bonniedeisinger.com. You can also find me on Facebook at Bonnie Deisinger-Esoteric Healing, and also on Instagram. You will receive a recorded copy of this presentation to your email that you've put in your registration form. So please feel free to watch it again and share it with your friends. Thank you. So I've stopped the recording there. Now I'm